Good morning and welcome to term 2. We only have a little bit left on code.org. Just to go through what we've done so far, we've done sequencing, we've done loops, we've done conditionals, we've done functions. That's the last thing. And then what we're starting on today is variables. And after variables, we have one more kind of loop called a for loop, and then we'll be done. These are fun activities, but we're not going to be doing them because they're not teaching us anything new. But we might do a project at the very end. Now, variables are one of the most important. Again, everything we learn in term 1, we're going to be using again and again in terms 2, 3, and 4. And variables is one of those things. It's a very core concept of coding, and you'll see what that means through these activities. Okay, so we're going to do a few activities in this lesson, lesson 19 and 20, and you're going to be finishing them both for tonight. Okay, so let's start. So in this assignment, they're asking us to draw 3 triangles right in a row like that. And you'll notice that they already gave us the length of the triangles. The length are the side length is 50. And actually, if you do activities 1 and 2, you'll be drawing them using normal loops. And we can all do this. This is nothing new. What's new here is using variables. And so before we start, they're asking us here, how can you use it? Can you move the length of 50? Okay, they're asking us here to set length to 50. As you can see here, it says move forward by, and then this is blank. If I click run, it's going to move forward by 0. And you'll see what happens. The artist is just rotating around himself. And so what they need us to do here is, since we set this this is a new variable, okay? This is a variable called length. We set it equal to 50, and so we can take this length here and put it here. That way we're saying move forward by 50, because we set the length to 50. And so if we click run now, and let me put it here as well, just so after we draw the triangle, we actually move forward. So you can see the artist is drawing the triangles correctly, and he's moving 50 every time. Now, if I change this number, let's say if I change the number to 60, what do you think will happen? All right, let's try it out. You can see the artist drew 3 bigger triangles. It's not that the 60 only applied to the first triangle or anything like that. Since every time we're moving forward by whatever the value length has. In this case, it's 60, and so every triangle is now has a side length of 60. Okay, let's move on to the next assignment. Let's finish this one. In assignment 7, they want us to draw these 3 triangles, and they're the same side length that we have here is the distance between one triangle and the other. So if I click run, it's going to draw the triangle we had earlier, the 3 triangles we had earlier. And now we just want to jump down after drawing each triangle. So after drawing each triangle, we just need to turn left. Let's do, well, actually turn right by 90. Which means we're facing downwards. Let's see if this works. Yeah, so we're facing down here, and then I want to say jump forward by length. So same thing, jump forward by length, and then I'm going to turn left again by 90. Let's try it out. Okay. So I'm facing the correct direction, and so I can do this 3 times. And we're good. Notice that I didn't have to put jump forward by a certain amount here. The only time I said the length was at the very top, just 50 once, and then I set it here to draw the triangles, here to jump this is still in the triangle, and then here to jump down to the second triangle again. Okay, so let's move on to more advanced forms of this. Now, in lesson 20, things are a bit more challenging. You can see here, this is the bee again, and we're trying to get the nectar and make honey, get nectar, make honey, get nectar, make honey. They already have a function set up for us called collect row. So if I take everything out except this function, it's actually not going to do anything because I have all these gaps. There. So they have a variable here. It says set gather to 2. So they made a variable called gather, and they made it equal to 2. Okay? So this word gather basically stores the information of given here. So whatever the variable is set to is just information stored in this name, this new name that we made called gather. So every time, if I click variables here, every time I use gather, it means that I'm using the number 2. Okay? So let's put the gather here in the function, repeat gather times, which basically means repeat 2 times. So let's run. Okay, so what happened here? Twice we moved forward, so we did move forward, then we're sitting on a flower. At the flower, we repeated this twice, so we got nectar twice. Then we did 1 move forward, then made honey twice, and then turned left. So far, we're doing great. Now, we need to do this 1, 2, 3 times, right? So here, I'm not going to put gather here. I'm just going to put, where is it? Math, yeah, I'm just going to put, since I need to do this 3 times, not 2 times, so I'm going to put 3 here. And we're good. Okay? Now, in the second one, they're asking us to solve this problem. We have the same exact code that we had from the last problem, but this time we're moving 3 instead of 2. So we're move forward 1, 2, 3, then gather or get nectar 3 times and make honey 3 times, turn left, and so on. If we run this function now, our set gather or our gather variable is set to 2, which means it'll only move forward twice, it'll only get nectar twice, and so on. So all we need to do to fix this is change one thing, this one number. Instead of 2, make it 3. That way, this repeat block is going to repeat 3 times instead of 2. This one is going to do the same thing, and this one is going to do the same thing. If we didn't have variables, we'd have to change each one of them separately. Okay, so that's the main value of using variables, is that you have all these variables around your code. You only need to change the one line to have an effect on everything else. It makes your work less tedious. Okay, so let's see if this works. All right. Okay, now one last challenge here. In this case, we start needing to move forward 3 times, get nectar 3 times, make honey 3 times, but then it changes to 2 times, and then it changes just to 1 time. So every time we repeat this, we're reducing the number, or we want to reduce our variable by 1. We're reducing the number of times we need to get nectar and the number of times we need to make honey. If I click run right now with the same code that we have, it's going to start off fine, but then it's going to skip. As you can see, it's going to try to get nectar here instead of make honey. That's why it gives us this error. Okay, so our gather variable starts as 3, but once we're done with the first collect row, we need to decrease. So let me put it here. So collect row, we need to decrease the value of gather. Gather right now is equal to 3. So instead of 3 here, after I finish the first row, I'm going to set gather equal to, well, I could just set it equal to 2 here, then collect row again, then set it to 1. And this would work. Oh, I need to say collect row one more time. And so we did do it, and we have 22 out of 22 blocks. But there's an even smarter way to do it. Instead of setting gather to manually every time to 2 or to 1, we just want to say subtract 1. So instead of this, we can say, we can use the math here. And I can say set gather to, instead of saying 3, I'm going to say this. I'm going to say whatever gather was, subtract, I'm going to choose subtraction here, subtract 1 from it. So if gather is now 3, after I collect the first row, I'm just going to say make gather equal to whatever the value was, which in this case 3 minus 1, which is going to be equal to 2. And so I can do this and collect row again, and let's see if it works just on the first 2 rows. We don't expect it to work on the third because we only have 2 collect rows here. And so it worked fine. This gather minus 1 thing worked fine. And what's nice about that is that it's using the variable gather, which means that we can put it in a loop. I can actually just say start by setting gather to 3, collect 1 row, then subtract 1 from gather, then do this again. Let's see if it works only on 2 rows. All right. So now I can say do it 3 times, meaning subtract 1 again from gather. So it starts at 3, then it goes to 2, then it goes to 1, just like we did manually. And we're done. And if you think, okay, we're using the same amount of blocks. Yes, we are, but only because we're using those smaller blocks. Each one of those counts as 1 block, you'll see here. But if you compare the number of lines, so if I remove this, it becomes 21, you see that? But if you compare the number of lines, we're using a lot fewer lines here. So this is much neater and much less tedious. We don't have to set the value of gather manually every time. We know the pattern. It was 3, then 2, then 1. And so we can build that into our loop so that the variable can decrease by 1 every time. Okay? So it's a little bit challenging to get to wrap your head around that, but once you do it, it becomes a very useful tool. And so good luck on lesson 19 and 20. Please email me if you have any questions. Make sure to send me a screenshot of your screen so that I can respond to you accurately. And I'll see you either in class or at some point next week. Bye.